Welcome to Season 2 of the Shop Stool Podcast, a podcast for woodworkers and the maker community in general. With Joey Chalk from King Post Timberworks, Bryan Cush from Sawdust Bureau, and Robin Lewis from RobinLewisMakes. Hi everyone, I hope you're all very well. This is episode 24, Season 2 of the Shop Stool Podcast. As always, I want to start by introducing my two co-hosts. We have two today, unlike last week. So Joey, how are you?
Yeah, very good. How are you going, Robin?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. And Bryan, how's it going that end?
Going pretty good, Robin.
I believe you're very cold down there this morning.
It's a little bit chilly in Melbourne, but we're going to have a lovely sunny day, so no complaints.
Yeah. And my name is Robin Lewis. Welcome to the show, everyone. For anyone who listened to the show last week, you will have heard that Joey wasn't with us. I assume, Joey, you've had a pretty busy couple of weeks.
Yes.
What did we miss?
Well, a whole lot of stuff. It's gone from like I think I mentioned previously that I had a bunch of work come in kind of post-lockdown of jobs from pre-lockdown inquiries. And so that kind of made me busy, but there was no new stuff coming in. Well, this week, it's just the phone has just been off the hook, literally just ringing. Probably yesterday I had 4 inquiries, the day before like 6 inquiries in a day, which is outrageous. And some of them are tire kickers and jobs that are, dubious. But the fact that people are still out and about looking for things suddenly, and what I've been hearing is the same from other guys that just flat out can't keep up with the workload that's coming in, which is awesome. I think it's partly, I guess, to do with the fact that a lot of Kiwis are getting behind the, help Kiwi businesses out kind of momentum and trying to spend money where they can. It surprises me a bit, but I'm happy to do what I can. So I'm going to have to get my employee back now because I just can't keep up. So
that's a good positive sign anyway. What type of jobs, Joey? Mainly sort of built-in and reno work rather than furniture work, or?
It's the bigger ones are relating to new homes and big renovations. So the reason I missed last week's episode was because a client suddenly decided they wanted to drop by and talk about a double set of spiral stairs for their new house.
Really want to hear about this.
Yeah, and they're just building their foundations now, and the job's been in the pipeline for probably since December, I think. And so they just signed on the dotted line last week to have me build those. So that it's been a bit tricky because the design has kept changing, and so we're now at a level playing field with design, and so I'm just waiting for them to build the house so I can actually measure how big they have to be because I can't do anything until the framing is built.
What are the details of it again?
So you've got a 3-story house, and they need two sets of stairs. There's a giant 3 meter by 3 meter stairwell in the middle of the house, and you're going to look down from the top, and the first set turns 90 degrees. So it's pretty straightforward, kind of an arc of a radius. And then underneath that, there's another set arcing the other way. So you have kind of 2 sets of stairs doing that when you look down from the top. So making kind of 2 arches. It's a bit tricky, but they're actually pretty much the same set of stair, just turns 90 degrees. So I really just have to make the same thing twice and stack them on top of each other. It's not going to be too difficult, but it will be interesting to see what happens.
And material, what are you going to be using?
Yeah, that's going all backwards and forwards with the client, trying to reduce costs and make it still look how they want it to look. And so it's going to be birch plywood laminated for the stringers, because they're going to have to be something like 300 by 60 or 300 by 70 glue lam beams for the stringers. And then they want like a floating stair kind of look, so with no risers, so you can see right through the staircase. So that makes things a bit tricky here because we've got regulations about how big the gaps can be between stairs. A bit like on a handrail, where you can't have more than 100 gap between the balusters on a handrail. So we've got to fill in some of that gap underneath each tread and so there's things to consider.
Are you doing that by turning the nosing down, or what are you?
We're going to use a bit of angle iron and put it underneath because we need to strengthen the step anyway.
Because it's floating,
to stop it sagging, or have the ability for it to sag. So we're going to use a bit of like 60 by 60 steel, and they're going to be powder coated.
And then the handrail, will that be on a curve, or is that going to be?
It's a curved handrail top, and then we're going to use solid steel balusters. It's a bit tricky to really know exactly what's happening because we have to have specific engineering for things like that to make it safe, and because it's not part of any existing building code, it's got to be specifically engineered, and some details may change on exactly how the stairs are made yet because the engineer hasn't drawn his drawings or done his calculations. So it's interesting. I yesterday just got an email from the same architect with a similar set of stairs. They want built another set, so I might become the curved stair guy for a while.
Did you get that job through a building contact, through the architect, through just a random phone call, or what was your protocol
that was
for that?
Through there's a I don't remember. I know I got a random phone call, but I don't know if it was through something else. I know that the building company had quotes for straight stairs from other people, and I know that the building manager was almost fell off her chair when she saw what the price difference was for curved stairs versus straight stairs.
I imagine.
Is it something you've done before in your sort of previous life when you were building more?
I've made lots of staircases. I'm familiar with the process. I have done one set of curved stairs, but only like an outdoor set, and they were quite small, but I've done the process. I know how to do it. I just haven't done it in a full-size kind of application. Essentially what we do is just build a full-size curved wall in the workshop and use that as our form. We're just going to bend the plywood around this full-size wall to make the stringers. And then you can use that same form to bend, glue lam the handrail as well. So you use the same form for multiple things. And you have two forms, one external curve and one internal curve, because they're different radii. And then because we're doing the treads the way we are, kind of floating on steel brackets, it's kind of easy, but I won't say that yet.
Famous last word.
Just all those little bits that I'm just thinking in my head, like, geez, there's just so much. There's so much to think about with this. Just all the processes are just completely alien.
The biggest thing, I don't know how they're done professionally. I say professionally by people who do this before, is drilling the holes for the balusters, because they've got to be plumb. So my theory is to have my stringer attached to my formwork, and then we're going to kind of rig up a cheap drill press that can stay vertical, and then drill the vertical holes and kind of step our way up the stringer.
I think there might be just an off the shelf sort of drill press that you can do that on, that you sort of
with a clamp on it.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's got a base that you can clamp down, and you can just put in a standard drill.
Yeah, I've seen Matt Cremona. Sure. Matt Cremona uses it when he's been building his. It takes an electric
drill.
A standard hand drill.
Yeah. But is the base just a little platform, or is it like does the supporting kind of arm of the drill press just turn into like an F clamp or something? Because that's what I would want.
This was the one that I saw him using. He was using it vertically and horizontally.
Okay.
And it was a pretty chunky thing. He was doing it when he was building his trailer to go through all the steel.
Was that his mag drill? It's a magnetic base.
Could be.
Which I was actually thinking of using, because the good thing with the mag drill is that it has the drill bit is parallel to the flat base of the drill. It's made to do that. And with any other drill or drill press kind of setup, often the drill spindle is off. It's not relative to any straight edge on a drill.
Okay, so maybe it's just right. Okay, so potentially it's not.
So
just off the shelf,
I had a quick look around at like a cheap benchtop drill press. You can get for like $200. You can get just a cheaper Ryobi drill press, which I would rip the base off and make my own kind of jig that straddles over the stair stringer.
That'd be so rad. Yeah.
And then I can just drill all my things vertically. The tricky part is actually doing the drill holes and the underside of the handrail, because I would either have to do all that upside down or flip everything upside down and then drill upside down. But all these bridges I have yet to cross, and I've got a long way to go yet.
But you've got your fee signed off, and that's the stage you're at now. And
I've got the first deposit. Just waiting for the first deposit, and then I'm going to get the engineer onto it. And then I'll re-look at the price once I see how much details he changes.
Fantastic.
So at the same time, I've actually got my dad in the workshop now, helping to finish off all these 12 chairs I've been working on.
Yeah.
So I just really finished them off this morning by getting all the upholstery pieces. That's the seat base and the back splat ready for upholstery. So they'll go off to the upholsterer next week. And in the meantime, we're putting this Osmo on the chairs, which is an awesome product, man. Really nice stuff.
Talking of Osmo, I've had my first foray into hard wax oils. I didn't use Osmo. It's by a company called Whittle Waxes. It's Evolution, I think it's called. Yeah. First coat, easy, no problem. Second coat came out a bit blotchy. Now I don't know if that's the way I'm applying it. How did you go with it, Joe?
Well, I really just was making it up, and it worked. So the first coat I just smashed on with a brush and just got a bunch of it soaking all over it, and then just ragged all the excess off. And it dried really. I've got the rapid dry stuff because it was a bit colder here than it recommended, and it dried super quick. And it felt like when it was dry, it felt like a polyurethane first coat of polyurethane, like a really nice build up, and I was really impressed. And then we just sanded it with like 400 grit for the second coat, and it just instantly sanded smooth. It was like 2 swipes sanded, and we're just ragging on the second coat.
And was it quite a heavy second coat?
Just like a rag full of Osmo, and just kind of just wiping it on so it's a glossy surface.
Yeah, see, that's where I think I went wrong. So I watched a couple of videos on how to apply it, and one of the approaches is that you take a cloth or even a Scotch-Brite pad, which is what I used, and you rub it in, you really work it in.
Yeah.
Right on that first coat, which is what I did, fine. Doing it on the second coat didn't work so well, and I think that's where it probably got on the head. What I did instead was got the roller out. One of those Monarch rollers, worked beautifully, amazing finish. But yeah, so maybe that's what it was, is you need to put a bit of a heavier second coat on. You can't be forcing it in, because then you get that tone difference.
I'd still keep it pretty thin, Robin. My experience with it is that there is no one way to do it. Like, I would change the way I do it on different, like, if I'm doing a chair, like Joey said, I'll use a brush to get into the corners, but I'll generally just apply it with a rag over most of the frame. If I'm doing a smaller coffee table piece or something, I'll put it on with a roller, and I'll generally roll across the grain to try to get into everything, and then I will rag it off with the grain, and that'll be the same for 3 coats. And unless I've got a lot of dust settling in it, I'll basically just rub off the dust nibs with the 3M pad.
Yeah,
whereas if I'm doing it on a massive dining table or boardroom table or something, I'll pour the Osmo directly onto the table and use like a plastic card or something to spread it.
I saw that. Yeah,
and
I saw that.
You can get a really, really quick coat done on it. Whereas I find if you're trying to roll something like that, it's hard to keep a wet edge on a really long table.
Yeah.
Whereas,
just
pouring it on and using the card to spread it is a really good fast step. COC actually told me that. I think it was.
I've got a lot of experience with Danish oil, and it really is just, in my eyes, it's working just like Danish oil would, but seems to build a bit faster. And so treating it as an oil more than a urethane, because it really is an oil, as far as I can tell, it really seems to work well. And thinking about it from a Danish oil point of view, it's just lots of thin coats will get you to where you want to be rather than, a couple of heavy coats. Especially the same with Danish oil, you get a drip of Osmo and it's not going to dry, it's just going to stay gummy. And if you try and go over top of it, it's just going to get worse. It's never going to dry. So just got to peel off any drips or, kind of gummy stuff from the day before and let it air out for a little bit before you sand it.
Yeah. But it's a lovely finish, though. It's that waxiness of it is, oh man, it's beautiful. Cool. So, stairs, chairs, anything else?
I've got a kitchen on the way as well. Dad's helping me with that, and I'm just at the same time I'm starting an oak desk and a sideboard for a renovation, and it's going to be interesting. I might have bitten off a bit much there, but I've just started.
What a transformation from a couple weeks ago. We're going to have no work in the near future. We're all just going to fold can't put it all in. That's amazing. That's so awesome.
I'm still like completely, I don't know what to think, because I still feel like the bottom's got to drop out at some point. So, but what's crazy over here? People have just started selling houses again, and the house prices are more than they've ever been anywhere.
Yeah, it's the big property.
Can't work that out.
Yeah, the big property, whatever they call it, depression. Yeah,
it doesn't exist. So, I'm not sure. That's crazy things.
Yeah. So, Bryan, you've just finished off something recently that. What now? Is it a chest of drawers?
Yeah, it was a chest of drawers. I actually finished it about a month ago, and just got it shot and posted the images this week. It's a chest of drawers, but I kind of designed it that it could be a dresser or a sideboard kind of piece. I didn't really want to, so I can pretty easily customize it, put more cupboard space in, put more drawers in. But that was for my son, so that's a change table for my son.
Yeah,
and got all his stuff in it, and he can inherit it for his 21st birthday.
Yeah.
So got that finished. I finished my hallway unit that I did for the client, the kind of slanted thing with the plant shelf on it. So I need to borrow that back and get that shot of that
against you took the shot of that against a window, right?
I did, yeah.
Is it going to stay there? Because it looks really dramatic in that spot.
That's the window in my workshop. I took the railing down for the shot because the shadows were being cast across it and it was maybe a bit too much. So yeah, I just took the railing down, shot it, delivered it, and then I've got another piece that I'm working on at the minute. And once I finish that, I'll borrow the hallway piece back and just shoot them together. Yeah, do it properly.
I wanted to ask Bryan and Robin. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you can weigh in. So I had a few people seeing my pictures of the chairs on Instagram saying, oh good, now that you've spent all this time you can just batch out hundreds of these chairs now that you've got all the jigs. And that's not the case at all. But I wanted to ask, because you just mentioned that you could customize this chest of drawers. Are you able to easily just replicate that, or have you still got jigs and processes, or is it kind of like a rebuild from scratch but you know what you're doing this time?
It would still be a rebuild from, I don't think, in fact I do have some jigs. I have some of the pattern jigs that I use to get the radiuses on the support frame.
Yeah.
And I actually made them in a way that they weren't specific to that piece, and I can just kind of clamp that to any radius and create the same thing. A piece like that where it is all square edges, I do find customizing it to be pretty easy. Like if it's just moving a central fin or changing the drawer sizes, it's through the software that I use to design the pieces, it is a pretty quick change. But I know exactly what you mean with chairs, the fact that there's so many more processes involved, and especially your curved backs, like to say, batch them out and they're going to be half the price for the next one. It's like, it doesn't make any sense.
I couldn't, if the same client asked for another 12 chairs, I would have to start from scratch again. Pretty much. I've got 2 jigs that are probably reusable. Every other process is because I made a pine mock-up of the chair, exactly how it was going to be. And then I had to, once I made that and had the whole chair mock-up, like looking good, I then had to kind of work out how to make all those pieces again, because I didn't have a jig to make the first piece. It was just all kind of by eye, hand shaping, getting everything to fit just right. And then once I had the basic shape and form of each of those curved pieces, it was like, how can I mass produce, well, how can I make 12 of these? And so I would actually take the part I had made and use that as a template / jig. And by the time I'd used that and done a left and a right hand version for each of those pieces, and that piece is like Swiss cheese, and like had been hit with a router and whatever I had to do. Sometimes just hack a piece off it so it fitted in the machine I was trying to use, because I didn't need the back half of it. I just cut it off so I could actually use the piece. And so I'm going to show, it'd be interesting to see what the initial piece mock-up looks like now, sitting next to a finished one. It's just kind of barely hanging together with hardly most of it's gone, because I've kind of ransacked it for all its pieces and used them as straight templates and guides for my jigs. And especially with the Panto router, which has saved my life with the chairs, you really have to make quite complex jigs to get the joinery to work for non-square work. And I was literally just cutting jigs in half so I could flip it around and use it on the left-hand side and the right-hand side and make them reversible, which means I could never do that, make them again. I would never be able to make the same chair again because the jigs are gone. So
I look at what Byrne does, and I imagine he's got a wall and he's like, what chair am I going to make today? And I'll pull this set of jigs off the wall and to me that's what chair building seems like. It's all jigs.
It should be, I think it should be. I think I've maybe shot myself in the foot, but I got to a point where I was like, if I actually saved this and made a copy of my jig and put my original jig on the wall and then just used my copy of my jig, but I've already cut it in half now, so what am I going to do? And actually, I'm not sure if I want to.
I have so many jigs littering the walls of pieces that I'm like, I'll make that again.
Never.
Nah.
Yeah.
Right. Wall of shame.
Yeah, I started throwing all my jigs away long ago. Whenever I did like bent lambs or steam bent stuff, and I'll make another headboard and I'll just use the same shape, because no one wants that same shape. So just goes in the bin.
It's good to hear that, because after this project that I've done, I've got these big chunks of MDF sitting and floating around the shop. They've got nowhere to go, and I keep looking at them, going, should I just toss them? Because you've got to keep them in good nick to make them worthwhile. So you can't just chuck them in somewhere.
Could you build some shelves sort of underneath your joists, maybe?
I should. Yeah. One of the next things I'm going to be doing next projects is to build a proper workbench and concentrate on the shop a bit more, getting better storage and stuff. And I've got some steel angles, just 90 degrees, that I want to put onto the walls for timber storage, anything that's coming into the shop to acclimate. My workbench or my assembly bench, the bottom half is just timber, just thrown in underneath. And I mean, I've got the biggest wheels I could find, but at some point they're going to break because there's a lot of weight at the bottom of that. So it needs to go up on the wall, as you say, Bryan.
Robin, could you get some like steel pipe and screw it across the joists, perpendicular to the joists, and say at like 300 mil centers or something like that, and you could slide timber down in between your joists and use that space and it's already kind of partitioned, and you could kind of like have it by species or size in your ceiling.
Already started doing that with the more structural stuff. Any leftover 2x4s. I've got a couple of 120s up there. But I guess the problem with it is and I don't know, maybe I'm being ridiculous, but I feel like if I start storing timber up there, I'm starting to add more weight to the floor. This is an old house with sagging floors. I mean, I've always just thought to myself, rather put it on the wall, because that'd be safer. Or do you reckon it's...
Bryan, how many people is the floor designed to hold?
Many. I'd say even if there is a bit of rot in any of the structural members, I'd say you'd be all right adding even, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to put a number to it legally.
You could probably put 300 kilos on it.
A stack of timber, and I get a phone call.
Your floor should be able to take like 20 people if you have a dinner party. So, 20 times 100 kilos.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a fair point, and maybe I should utilize, because as you say, I mean, that's just waste of space, and it sits in between the joists, so it's perfect. It's the perfect spot to put it. Yeah, maybe I should. What I've done in the past is just screwed some plywood strips straight up into the joist, and then just slid it over the top of that.
Yeah,
so
right.
don't even go to the steel pipe round, just a couple of screws. Yeah.
Yeah.
Worked
And
well.
so, Robin, you finished the table.
Yeah, and really happy it's done. It's been so nice to have a dining table. You know, we've got, for those who don't know, it's me, my wife, and my 2-year-old, turned 2 5 days ago. And we've owned, you know, when it was myself and my wife, we would sit in front of the TV and watch TV and eat dinner. That's how we had dinner. Then we did our kitchen renovation, and the 3 of us would sit on the island, at the island bench, my 2-year-old on this bar stool, basically one of us next to her the whole time, trying to, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's so nice to have a space to properly eat dinner. The tables turned out perfectly. I'm happy with everything. The finish came out great. Everything is nice. The look, everything. There's one problem with it though that I didn't see coming, and I might need to address this in the future. When you build a square table and your rails intersect the leg on 2 sides, that gives that leg a fair amount of strength in terms of, you know, moving it in each direction.
Lateral, yeah.
When you create that cross piece like I did, all of your strength is in that half lap joint. Now, luckily, I did 2 half lap joints, so you've got the bottom and the top rail to give it strength. But if you consider taking half the legs, so if you've got 2 pieces crossed, if you take one of those pieces and push 2 legs in one direction, everything is relying on that half lap joint.
Yeah.
And because
you could kick a leg off, is what you're saying.
Pretty easy.
Yeah.
And because that top is so heavy, because it's using that Moreton Bay ash, which is heavy, there's too much play in the table. I'm not happy with it.
Does it rotate a bit?
And that's the second thing. Rotational.
Yeah.
It's so weird. So like if you push the table, there's a little too much play, more than I'm comfortable with. I mean, you'd need to give it a proper good kick if you wanted to do any damage.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's a little too much. But where there's a lot more is if you use it like a steering wheel.
Yeah.
There's a lot of movements in that. So I went
It's
back.
It's interesting because my table had the same problem.
I looked at yours. So I went back and looked at a couple of different videos on it. Andy Rawls did one as well.
Yeah.
And I saw yours and I thought, well, yours must have the same same thing.
Well, it did. I must say it did because it no longer really exists. So
Oh.
I was going to say, how did you remedy it? But you remedied it by
I
getting rid
unscrewed
of
the
it?
top and then threw it off the deck. And now I burnt some of it the other night actually in the fire.
Was that because it was just...
It actually got worse. It
get worse, yeah.
And nothing cracked. I don't know how it got worse, but the amount of rotation, it probably would rotate. The top could rotate relative to a leg, maybe 20 mil.
Sure.
So like enough that you get onto your seat and bump the thing, you bump the tabletop, and everyone's drinks like slosh over the side,
Okay.
and you're like, well, this sucks.
Yeah. I've got a fish pond, a fish bowl on mine, and those poor fish.
Yeah.
They're having terrible luck
in
right
a
now.
storm.
Yeah.
I think the problem with my one was the original design that I copied, and I had permission to straight up copy it. He had used like 60 mil thick teak for his, and so way more sturdiness in the joinery. And I had only just enough. I had 60 mil stock, but I had to rip it down in half to have enough timber to build it the way I did. And I think that killed it. I think if I had everything beefed up at that 60 mil stock level, there would be enough meat in the joinery to actually support and enough weight in the base to do what I had to do. And I don't know what there must be like a secret untold problem with round tables, because you think so many people have round tables, and especially like the hairpin leg style, they must all twist. I imagine. Yeah.
Now I've got a solution, and it's going to come down to whether I want to do this or not, whether I want to go to the length. You've got the top and the bottom rail. In that bottom rail where it crosses, I'm not going to come too far out, but if I put 45 pieces in between that cross, you know, in each one of those angles, that should help.
Kind of spider web it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't say that it will, but I suspect that it will improve it.
I think if you just did that up the top.
But the top's attached, the top cross rail is attached to the top, so surely there's no movement there.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, it'd be interesting to actually like hang a plumb bob off the side of it and twist it slowly and kind of fix a leg point and see what is flexing. Is it the joint that's flexing, or is it just straight up the thinness of the leg stock that is flexing under load?
Yeah, I can see it. I can see what's going on. The leg is pivoting at the top where it joins the table.
Right.
The whole leg is, it's pivoting there, and then the base is staying still. And it's because you've got no sorry to everyone who's listening because I'm using my hands here to explain. But you've got no timber deleting into it in the direction of your force. It's I don't know what you'd call that. It's perpendicular to that. Yeah. Bryan, have you done a round table before?
I was just trying to think about if I've done a round dining table. I don't think I have. Oh no, I did actually. I did one with a steel frame base. Right. A boardroom table, and there was a little bit of twist in it, but it was maybe 10 mil rod or 8 mil rod, like a big wireframe base. Right. So I was expecting there to be a little bit of flex in it. It's maybe 10 mil across a 1400 diameter table of sort of twist, which to me was okay. That was acceptable, but smaller coffee tables and things, it's not the same problem. You don't really get the same forces.
You don't have a body weight leaning on it, and that's the problem.
No.
It's really interesting. You lean on it down, rock solid, no movement at all. Yep. It's just in that one direction.
It's really weak in that plane, in that circular plane. And I don't know what really the solution is, because round tables have been around since Adam, but I
maybe
think
it's the middle piece when you see them made with like a big chunky middle piece.
A pedestal.
Pedestal. That's
I think that's going to stop it.
Because
even if you had something to tie, like I don't know, there's a bit of steel or something at a lower level that ties the legs together.
But you've got to. You're right, but you've got to consider.
I know you got to get your
legs.
chairs in.
Yeah, that's it.
What I came up with for a possible solution for mine was to actually put like a 3 mil aluminium plate underneath the feet, right on the floor level, and it would piss you off because it would keep catching on your chair legs. But you could just walk on it easily, like it wouldn't trip on it. You could sit there and your knees wouldn't get in the way. It'd be like a big flat disc on the ground would work, but it's a stupid answer. But it would fix the problem, I think, of supporting the legs.
I still don't think it will, because the feet will stay there and the
would twist separately.
Legs would twist. Yeah, so, as I'm living with it for now, I think it's something I might revisit, and I think it'd be an interesting video as well to go back and revisit it and fix that. And I know this probably doesn't make you feel better, Joey, but I'm so stoked to hear you saying that, because
fine.
I looked at that and I just thought, I am a fraud. I
thought that when mine did it. I was like, why the hell does it twist? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And also, the bigger problem with mine that I don't think you would have so much, I had all these curvy legs and I couldn't just add pieces in. But with your table being straighter, with straighter kind of members, it's going to be easier to tie in extra timber if you have to. Yeah. And for me, and my wife eventually just said, look, I'm sick of spilling the drinks. The kids are spilling everything.
That'd be frustrating.
What are we going to do? And so I just now have a big round disc of red oak under the house. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with.
It was funny your mention of hairpin legs there, Joey.
Yeah.
It's actually something that I never thought I would do. I always sort of thought my stuff was kind of in a fine furniture world. And our conversations that we were having about trying to do pieces that were more affordable and maybe come in with a lower product line that I don't know, would drive a few sales. I've spoken to a friend of mine and I'm going to try something out. I'm going to try my star map tables on a separate website.
Okay.
Like starting a sub-brand website and really simplified, not mass customization. You pick your date and time that you want the star map. You pick your diameter of table.
That's cool.
And your height of table, and that's basically it. You know, I'm not going to take orders on people wanting one that's 790 mil instead of 750 mil. I'm like, this is how it's done.
Yeah.
I've set up the CAD files to cut all the rebates for the legs and everything. And
that's cool.
Yeah, I'm in the process of working through that. Like, I just reached the point where I'm like, what is my opposition to buying an off-the-shelf steel leg?
Yeah.
Like, what? When people are buying them, and there's sort of mid-range in terms of price, mid-range furniture being sold with hairpin legs.
Yeah.
But why do I have to make everything? Like, of course, if somebody wants me to make the timber base for it, that's fine. But I'm going to try to explore that sort of lower middle range of the market rather than the upper middle, just by doing it. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes.
That's really cool. And I saw recently, the other day, you had a picture of hanging one of your star tables up, like taking the legs off. And you could actually have that on your website as you could just buy it as a wall art and no legs.
Yep. And then add another $120 for the legs or whatever. Yeah. That's sort of that's the plan.
And would you ship it flat pack then? And they can just screw it together?
Yep.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
It's just, 6 screws or
Again,
something?
it takes out a massive headache of building large boxes and trying to protect things in shipping. Whereas, flat packing it. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm just sort of playing with the website at the minute and trying to work out the best platform to sell it on.
You could even go one step further with that and approach a company doing the legs, and you both have separate orders, so to speak, going to the same place at one point. So you're just shipping the top.
I was thinking
that's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
that's not a bad idea.
There's a company called, I think it's Australian Hairpin Legs in Melbourne.
I know them. Yeah,
I did some work with them on a coffee table probably 2 years ago. So they sponsored one of the videos, and it's all Australian made. You know, it's local, it's there in Melbourne, and the quality is fine. I've never had any issues with it. So yeah, you ship out the top, they ship out the legs, boom, 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 kit table, make your own.
Well, that's what I was thinking straight away, Brian, is because I can see making a package to ship a flat tabletop is pretty straightforward, but then you've got to somehow lump on a box with legs in it, which would be annoying. But if it just came straight from the supplier, and they're in their own box, you just ship them out.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Ship one flat kind of cardboard foam wrapped pizza out. You just need big pizza boxes. That's
nice big square pizza box.
That'd be cool. Yeah. Make like a 3 mil thick plywood pizza box.
Yeah. It was very cool seeing it as a wall art. I must say, I saw that and thought that is gold, especially if you customize it. So it's if it's
somebody was on. I can't remember who it was. Somebody on Instagram was on at me years ago. Make these as wall art. Make them as wall art. And I'm like, I don't really think they'll just sell as wall art. So I kind of thought the idea of combining it, that it could be a coffee table or it could be wall art. I thought that might make it a bit better.
So 2 immediate thoughts there would be, surely would you add, like you could do a name and a birthday.
Yep.
On there.
So they're all engraved on the back. Yeah.
And then one option I'm thinking of, I don't know if they exist, but you could surely there must be a fold down leg that just has a little gusset, so the leg folds out from the table base, little gusset pops into place, and then you've got a coffee table, and then just click the legs down, and then it's flat.
That'd be a lot of hardware behind your piece of wall art. You're going to need to go into a stud for sure.
Yeah, but I mean that way you just sell one product.
Oh yeah.
It's not either or. It's just Brian gets 400 of these legs made sitting in a box, and then he just screws them on himself to the wooden pizza, and that's it. I don't know, it's just an option.
Yeah, I suppose then it's going to, I'm trying to think what depth of timber you'd need to sort of
what
fold
depth,
something in that it would still
how
fit
thick are
flush,
these tables?
They're about 24, 25
okay,
mil.
so they're not thick enough really.
No, they're pretty skinny little.
Well, that's cool.
But I could definitely see that being, even if you had some feet or something that rested it and floated it off a wall when it sort of became wall art.
Well, the legs, in that case, the legs in the sticking that had folded down could actually be the mounting bracket to screw it onto the wall with.
True.
And it would float off the wall that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it would mean redesigning the wheel a bit and making your own, having a leg, and someone produce some basic kind of folded metal in a leg / brackets. But it might be an interesting thought.
All right, so I reckon that pretty much catches us all up. I don't think we've done an episode where we talk about what we're doing. I actually don't think we've ever done one. Honestly, I don't think we have.
Not for ages. I wanted to ask quickly, Bryan, what's the workload for you like?
It's mixed.
Yeah.
It's still lots of small inquiries, which again I don't really have a problem with. It just means lots more customers to constantly talk to and liaise, delivery and collection times and things like that. But it's manageable. I've had a few inquiries for freestanding desk, a built-in reception desk for a hotel, a couple of beds. So there are still inquiries coming. It's good. Just definitely they're smaller scale than they were, but it's not too bad.
That's awesome. It's not dead.
I think the bigger work potentially could start to come, but it's going to be mainly built in. Like the federal government here just announced a building grant yesterday that anybody doing a renovation over $150,000 will get $25,000 grant towards it, which is a nice bonus. There are some criteria on it, like what you earn, how much your house is worth.
Can you spend that on anything?
You can spend it on it. It has to be part of the building contract. So there could still be the opportunity there for builders to subcontract me to produce things
built-in
for homes.
Kitchen furniture stuff.
Built-in, even an island bench or something like that could easily be part of a renovation.
That's awesome.
So they're kind of calling that about a $660 million grants process.
Whoa.
But you never know where the Australian government pull their facts and figures from. They got the JobKeeper one pretty wrong, but never mind. So yeah, hopefully those jobs start to appear in the next 3 to 6 months, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, until then, like we got winter coming. Winter tends to be my busiest time when people are spending more time inside looking at their decor and upgrading things. So hopefully.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, well, it's certainly not the doomsday prophecy that we talked about a couple months ago, which is awesome.
Not yet.
No,
it's looking pretty
Not
good.
yet. Not yet.
Cool. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
All right, so to everyone listening, I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please go ahead and give it a rating on iTunes. That really does help us out. Shop Stool Podcast is available on iTunes and most other podcast apps. My name is Robin Lewis. Joey and Bryan, thanks very much for hanging out today. Take care, everyone, and we will see you in the next show.
Well, good. See ya.
Catch you guys.